Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another episode of the Snowflake Viewpoint, episode 51. The date is the 22nd of April, 2024. Just 8 p.m. UK time. How you all doing? Hope you all had a very nice weekend. My mic has been playing up for the last minute or two, so I'm just kind of paranoid about it switching itself off. So hopefully it won't switch off anytime soon. There will be no Snowflake after chat today, guys. Simply because I had a long weekend, and so there won't be one tonight, but there will be one on Wednesday night. So I'm gonna be doing an after chat on Wednesday night, and I'll remind you guys on that. So if you guys want to come hang out on Wednesday night, you can do that. But tonight, I really, truth be told, guys, I need to get some sleep, because I did not get any sleep at all last night as well. But what did just out of curiosity, Ollie, Pingu, what do you guys think? Pingu, I told you need to come out. Guys, the problem is Pingu, right? Like, as nice as Pingu is, like, he just keeps hiding behind the lava lamp. Like, he's tried to balance himself on top of the lava lamp or on top of Ollie, and he just keeps falling off. So now he's just hiding behind it. So it is what it is. But the orb is there. This is not good. That's not good. I had to actually literally pull the plug in and out. That's very worrying. That's not good. Yeah, this mic has its faults, that's for sure. I have to be... You can go... Right, so as long as I don't touch the mic, it should be all right. Right, so hello to everyone on the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat. If anybody's watching on twitch.tv, feel free to come along and say hello. Don't be shy, you're totally fine. And for those here on YouTube, just got a live chat poll for you guys. This is the one I'm going to go straight into because I really wanted to talk about this one. I was listening to a lot of this morning, but we're going to go into this deep dive because I really want your feedback when we talk about this story as well. Schools try to break pupils' addictions to smartphones with 12-hour days. Do you agree with this? 14% of you say yes, it will help. 86% of you say no, it's a waste of time. No one is unsure yet. We're going to go to that article in just a moment, but before we do, just going to say hello to everyone who is here tonight. Stephen Banker is here. Good evening, Stephen Banker. Hope you're doing well. Rebecca McDonald, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well as well. Ruth is here. Good to see you, Ruth. No worries, listening in the background. That's all well and good. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. That's totally cool. Jao is here as moderator as well. Good to see you, Jao. Hope you're doing well. One Angry Pagan is there as well. Guys, do check out One Angry Pagan's YouTube channel whenever you get a chance to do so. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Duke Vengeance is here. He's stuck in attack mode and he can't turn it off. Is that a Minecraft reference? Maybe. Mad Monk 33 is here. Good to see you, Mad Monk. Hope you're doing well. And is there anybody else? Oh, Steve McMorran is there. Good to see you, Steve. Hope you're doing well on the other side of the globe. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend as well. One Angry Pagan for the 2-month membership. Thank you so much, One Angry Pagan, for renewing. Much appreciated. Sunak's last gamble this week. Summer general election, maybe. Maybe. We'll talk a little bit more. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. I've only just seen Max's video about an hour ago, the latest one. I've got a lot of YouTube videos to catch up on, which I plan to do tomorrow. So I'm trying to recover from what has been a mad wrestling weekend for me. How many tickles does it take to get an octopus to laugh? Testicles, says Vengeance. You got me to laugh, so that's a good one. Right, let's. I'm just going to delete. Just take the Discord off, so there's no buzzing there. Excuse me. Right, so this guy going just straight into the first one. This one is from the Independent. Now, so here's the headline. So schools are trying to break pupils' addictions to smartphones with the 12-hour delay. So the All Saints Catholic College, a secondary school in Notting Hill, will open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. From Tuesday, offering extracurricular activities after lessons. Now, I wanted to play this clip here from Martin Lewis, the money saving expert here, as he talks about how people are paying too much for. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong video. Where's the? Oh, they changed the video. Okay, all right, we'll have to skip that one. It's not the same video. Okay, so ignore that. What are we talking about? So, essentially, I was watching the video from Nick Ferrari on LBC this morning. I didn't watch the actual show, but I saw a video of this headline, and I was like, okay, so let's have a listen to it. So the head teacher that's behind this story, behind this basically, and we're going to read into this, and please give me your feedback about this, guys. So essentially, yeah, we have an issue with children being addicted to their smartphones, spending too much time on their phones, and we need to find a way of stopping kids from spending too much time on their phones. Now, his solution is this. To basically lock your kids up from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the school, so that they can't be anywhere near their mobile phones. Now, which is what he said. Now, obviously, this is an All Saints Catholic college. Now, there's a couple of caveats as well to add as well, if you haven't seen the video from Nick Ferrari when he was talking. So this is voluntary. This is not like a compulsory thing. So it's completely voluntary as well. The other thing, so it's voluntary. And it's basically a chance for kids basically just to have their phones taken away from them for pretty much for all day. The idea is to essentially lock them out from their mobile phones. Now this is what the whole idea is. This is what the concept is. Straight away, I'm sure I'm not the only one here in the chat. And like I said, I really want your feedback on this story, and we'll read into it in a moment. So one of the first problems I have with this is that the first thing that came to my mind on this was not about dealing with pupils with their addictions to smartphones. The first thing came to my mind is this is something that a Conservative government would love to implement. Why would they love to implement it? Well, what better way to help plug the employment gap, guys, than by getting parents to work longer? That's right. Yeah, just think about that. If government wanted to do this, they could do this, in making parents work longer to help plug employment gaps that we have in the UK because they don't want to use immigrants. This is why I really do worry about this story coming out, because I can generally see the Tories, the right-wing media saying we need more kids to be spending time in school. They're not getting enough education, yada yada yada, all that usual stuff. Yeah. This is not helpful in any way, in my opinion. And one of my biggest other criticisms about this, guys, is kids and their parents are already they don't spend enough time like they used to back in my day, and I'm sure back in some of yours days, they used to spend a lot of time. They don't spend enough time together, families and that. This will only exacerbate it. Now, you can say, oh, but on weekends they'll still get that time. Yeah, but they still want that time during the week. Do you really want your child to be basically locked in there for 12 hours in a school? Now, there's an argument that it will help improve their curriculum, help education and activities and all this kind of stuff. There's a little small matter of how we're going to pay for this. This is a state thing, by the way. This ain't private. This is a state idea. How are you going to pay for this? How are the teachers going to be able to cope with this? Because there were callers into Nick Ferrari basically saying, how are teachers going to be able to? Teachers are already stretched enough as it is, working the hours that they work. Not to mention that many teachers after school come home, are on their laptops and computers, still doing some paperwork for a couple of hours as well before they get a chance to actually breathe. Because that's how difficult it is of a job year for these teachers. So where is the teachers' involvement in this as well? It's just, for me, this just this does not in any way, shape, or form solve the problem. And if you are a child who has an addiction to your phone, and we all have our own addictions to phones. Let's not kid ourselves. Don't kid yourselves in the chat if you say that you don't have a mobile phone, that you don't sometimes look at your phone, that you don't sometimes look at social media. We all look at some kind of social media somewhere. I can understand if somebody only limits themselves, and if you do, that's great. I'm really, I'm glad for you. But we all use our mobile phones and look at stuff. And the kids these days are no different. And by taking the phone away from them for 12 hours, you're not solving the problem. You're simply blocking it. For me, one of the callers made, which really hit home for me, was about how they have a practical, proper discussion with their child about how much they use their phone, and have a general discussion about it. And it also comes down to the parents as well. This is not something that a school should be trying to deal with. This has to be a joint thing between schools and parents. Yeah, this is just as much down to parents as this is to schools. You cannot throw this situation about smartphones just on schools to try and get them to reduce it. And right now we have a system where kids at school from 8 to 3 o'clock, or 9 to 3, or 3:30 and whatever, right? And then they have like good 4 or 5 hours where they need to be home before their mum and dad call them and saying they need to come home, right? And then they're on their phones pretty much non-stop, pretty much. So how do you stop that? Well, you can't really, unless you take the phones away from them. Well, if you take the phones away from them, then they end up being the bully. The kid gets picked on because they're the only kid out of the school group that doesn't have a mobile phone and everybody else does. Don't really want to do that. You don't want to alienate your child from the rest of the classroom by taking their mobile phone away from them. So, like, the rest of them in the classroom will have their phones, but likely taken away from them. So, so this was actually something that I actually talk about some of this on my Speaking My Mind episode that will be coming up in a couple of weeks' time as well, because I wanted to kind of get it off my chest there. And one idea that I had when I was talking, and I don't know if such an app exists, but I generally want you guys to give me your honest opinion about this kind of app. So what if there was an app, right, on your device that you put on your on your children's phones, right, that only you can control, not them on the phone, that can shut down all their apps for a limited time, for a set time. But they leave their phone, but phone calls and texts are available, but everything else is blocked out for a certain period. Now, could such an app be made? Would it work? What do you guys honestly think? An app, right, that's on your phone, on your device, you set it for a certain time period, right? For a certain time period, right? Like 6 hours, whatever, right? And throughout that entire period, they have their phone. They can call and text if they need to, but they can't access any of their social medias until that period ends. What do you guys think of such an app? Because that was something that was coming in my mind when I was thinking about this. Because you can't take the phone away from them, but what if you block them from looking at their social medias 24/7? What if there was an app that could do that? Obviously, it would require a real specialist to do so. But I generally want you guys' thoughts on that, because I think that's something that someone should generally consider. Don't ask me how to make something like that, because I have no idea. But if someone could make such an app like that, if there was such an app like that, and if you're a parent, would you consider something like that would help mitigate the amount of time that they spend on social media? And if their phone, they can only talk, text and call, well, they're going to stop looking at their phone because they're not going to be able to do anything with it apart from send some text messages. So it's food for thought. So I'm just going to come to you guys in the chat before we go with the article, because I want to know what you guys are actually thinking about this idea. One Angry Pagan says, isn't that a thing with kids' tablets? I'm sure my little brother's tablet has that feature. So if that's maybe we should I'm not too sure about that, but maybe more of an adult themed one, a young teenager themed one perhaps. that can't be unblocked without parents' permission or something. I mean, I think like the 16 to 18 gap is kind of like, because the head teacher's argument is that they're on it 24/7, but you know, it's tough. Yeah, back in my day, Etch a Sketch. Yeah, Etch a Sketch was it. That was the day. Yeah, Ruth. Hi, 91 Leeds. Good to see you, buddy. I was bullied a lot at school. Thankfully, it hadn't affected my behaviour as an adult much, says Duke. Returning again to Rwanda and Sunak. We do on making fun of him and doing all the Rwanda deals. We understand how ridiculous and funny they are, says Joe. We'll talk about that later. Mad Monk says, back when I was in school, we started at 9 a.m. and left at 4 p.m. We didn't have mobile phones or computers, and the only games console we had was the Atari and the graphics intensive called Pong. Yeah, you didn't have that experience, Mad Monk. And I didn't have that experience either until quite late in my secondary school when there were mobile phones appearing up, but they were just simply calls and text message ones. Like, they weren't really... Those phones, they weren't really... like, they're not the devices that they were now. Like, we had them, but just for calls and text messages, but that was it. It was not something that you kind of sat and you looked at. But it's hard for us to navigate, to know exactly what the best solution is because we've not experienced it. One Angry Penguin says, for me, most of what I do on my phone is play games. Like, I use my laptop for social media and even most limited to YouTube, Facebook, rarely, and Discord. Stephen Morgan says, I'm sure if smartphones were around too when I was in school, I'd be addicted to them as well. Of course it's addictive. I mean, even us right now, like as adults, we are addicted to our phones. I don't think, we can't say that we're not addicted to our phones in some way, shape or forms. Good evening, Daily Blase. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Let's read a bit into this, guys. And hopefully you guys can give some more feedback as I talk about this. Because I generally, like I said, I really want some feedback on this. And if you're somebody who's not watching it live, please let me your thoughts in the comment section down below as well, because I really do want I really want to have a proper discussion about this. So, a school is introducing a 12-hour day this week in a bid to break pupils' addictions to their smartphones. So, the All Saints Catholic College, a secondary school in Notting Hill, will open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. from Tuesday, offering extracurricular activities after lessons. Andrew O'Neill, the school's head teacher, said he wants to help children who spend their lives buried on their devices, with some unable to make eye contact or maintain the conversation. At this school, we are trying to break the cycle of kids using phones causing so many problems, he told the Sunday Times. We are trying to give children activities in the evening, the kind of play-based childhood. I enjoy growing up in the village of Barton near Darlington instead of going home to their bedrooms and their phones. I don't think everybody does go home and go straight into their phones. There are still kids who go out and about, but they do just sit and play on their phones as well. So I don't accept the premise that they all go home on their bedroom and just sit on their phones straight home. I do think some of them do spend a bit of time out of it. But I'd say with kids, it's each to their own, and every area is different. Every child's story is different on that one. So Mr. O'Neill, 42, warned that failure to tackle the issue of phone overuse could result in a generational problem within workplace and society more broadly. I do agree with this premise. I do think there will be a generational problem with a society that is stuck with our mindsets on mobile phones. I think this is a cause for concern, and one we should try to tackle in very best way we can. But it's also us as adults need to set that example as well. So it's not just about what we do with the kids, but it's about ourselves setting the example as well. Pupils out of school rated outstanding by Ofsted will be offered art, drama, dodgeball, baseball and cooking classes as well, and will also be served a hot dinner after the official school day ends. Earlier this year, the government announced a crackdown on mobile phone use in school, although many have already banned them during lessons. The guidance issued in February backed head teachers in prohibiting the use of mobile phones throughout the school day, including at break times. Yeah, and I 100% agree with this. And when I covered the story on this, guys, I really have to say this. Those parents who were basically saying, but I can't contact my child. And I'm like, well, there's a thing called the school number. And if you contact the school number, they can tell you what's happened to your child. Any there are extreme circumstances where, like we said at the time, there are extreme circumstances where the child needs to have the mobile phone. But the vast majority of kids do not need a mobile phone in school. If you need to contact your child in an emergency, you contact the school. Like that's really it. Because back in my day, I never had my parents call the school to speak to me. So there's no reason for you having to contact your child. and I had somebody, and I was someone that got expelled from school. I got put into an EBD school, an emotional behavior difficulty school, and we didn't have mobile phones. I didn't have my mum and dad call me, checking on me and whatnot. I definitely wasn't a perfect child. So. If you're a parent that's paranoid about not being able to contact their child when they're in school, that means you literally do not trust the school to look after your child, and that means you're too clingy to your child as well. That's just putting it out there. Many schools around the country are already prohibiting mobile phones use with great results. The Department of Education have said this guidance will ensure that there is a consistent approach across all schools. By the age of 97% of children will have their own mobile phones, according to Ofcom. I would say, there is an age where you should not be giving your child their phone. But I can understand by then if you wanted to give your child a phone. But what kind of phone is the question as well. Using mobile phones in schools can lead to online bullying, distractions, and classroom disruption, which can lead to lost learning time. Yeah, that's why they need to be taken out of classrooms completely. Last year, UNICEF called for smartphones to be banned from schools as evidence showed that their use was linked to reducing educational performance and that excessive screen time had a negative impact on children's well-being. I was expecting a bit more, actually, from that article. But, because I was trying to find an article, a bit more detail on that. But it's easy for me to say this because, obviously, I'm not a parent. So people can easily point the finger and say, well, you don't know what it's like to raise a child. Of course I don't. Of course I don't know what it's like to raise a child. But what I do care about is I don't want, I don't want children with their heads stuck in their phones 24/7, knowing that there's a whole world out there. It's not all inside their goddamn devices. Like I'm here right now live streaming with you guys. I literally have 2 devices in front of me that I'm using in case I need to talk to you, talk to Twitch or YouTube chat right now. But these devices, they are addictive. They are extremely addictive. And we have to discipline ourselves to reduce the amount of time on social media. I think we need to discipline ourselves, and then we need to find a fair way to discipline children's time on social media. A fair way. Now, how we do that, I'm not 100% sure. But we do need to find some kind of fair way to do so, and I think that's really important, you guys. So I'm just going to come to you guys in the chat. If you haven't cast your vote, please cast your vote on the live YouTube chat poll on the question of this. So schools are trying to break pupils' addictions to smartphones with 12-hour days in school. So do you agree with this idea? Okay, so this is just one school. It's not compulsory. It's voluntary as well. But obviously, like I said earlier, if it's something that the government ends up introducing, I'll be very concerned. So 14% of you think yes, it would help. 71% of you think it's a waste of time, and 14% of you are not sure. Understandably, I can understand if somebody's not 100% sure with this policy. Simon says 55. Good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Ben Shaw is here as well. Good to see you, buddy, as well. Airbus is here as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I don't think. Oh, Andrew Luke. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well as well. I do feel the outrage is unhelpful, and naive. It just strikes me as in my day we use computers properly, not for hiding in pockets. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know. Yeah, because we've not experienced it. That's the problem. Stephen Moran says, "I'd like to see phones banned at concerts. Just enjoy it. FFS." So It's funny you should say that, Steve, actually. So I went to a wrestling show on Saturday night, and I had my mobile phone with me, and I know, I generally know exactly where you're coming from, as I've been to a few shows now, quite a few shows now, and you know, I feel a need to want to take pictures, or maybe take a few videos, obviously, of the matches and whatnot, because, you know, I want my own, you know, my own content to kind of say, look, I've been there and I've got pictures and all this kind of stuff, yeah. But there are times where I know I've got to, hey, I need to stop taking photos or whatever, put the phone down and actually watch the matches and enjoy the wrestling instead of actually using the phone. I have seen, I totally see that happening at concerts where people are just taking pictures or whatnot with their phone and whatnot. I think the worst thing you would do is if you go to a concert, go to a show or whatever, and instead of actually being part of the show, you're just staring at your phone. And it can be incredibly insulting. You know, and the show I went to on Saturday, like, we had a decent crowd. I don't think I saw anyone looking at their phone. But you can imagine, like, this is not like a big show. This is like a small wrestling show. And, you know, these guys, they come out to perform, yeah, for you, right? And you can apply this to anything, right? Imagine they come out, yeah, to perform and entertain you, and you're sitting there looking at your phone instead of looking at them. That's demoralizing for athletes or whoever as well. So instead of you actually paying attention to them, you're looking at your device, when you can look at your device whenever you want to. But you've been paying to go to a concert, like you said, or go to a show or whatnot, and instead of that, you're looking at your phone. Like, for me, I think the worst ones are the people who go to a cinema and look at their phone. I think that's the crazy one. I don't understand. I have seen people actually in cinemas actually looking at their phone, and I'm like, what's the point of you even being here to watch it if you're not even like if you're not even going to pay attention to it? So yeah, I totally understand. I totally understand that point there, Steve. I'm just going to scroll up to see. They're bombarding kids with gambling ads. Can't be good. Yes, I agree that that is an issue. But we're talking about how can we reduce the social media, because I don't think it's enough to just basically. It's not enough for me to simply say, right, you social media companies need to stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this. I don't think that's enough anymore. I don't think that's enough, because you can't. You know, you could apply some kind of law maybe to mitigate it. I don't think that's fair. I do think we need to find something, some kind of balance, not just for our sakes, but for the kids, the next generation's sakes, because we are losing them to mobile phones. Like, there's so much rich history and there's so much things you can do in real life, and they're being consumed by a digital world. And I'm someone who like, I use Twitter a lot. As you guys know, I use Twitter a lot. I use it obviously for the Snowflake Watch as well. I use Facebook I scroll a lot on Facebook, not too much, but I do look at some things. I spend about maybe 5-10 minutes maybe sometimes on it. I have TikTok, but I don't actually scroll through TikTok. I only have it in case. I have it, obviously, if you guys know, I use it for the content. Obviously, we have the Discord, which is, you know, as well, you know, the big massive server on there, which is a hub of information as well for you, for not just for me, but for all you guys on there as well. Which I have to say, I've neglected the server for the past week or so, which I need to spend more time on, and I apologize for that. And I think that's it's about controlling that, and I can totally understand some people basically who are here who've had lots of different social medias, and then they ended up deciding, okay, I'm going to stop using this one, I'm going to stop using this one, I'm going to stop using this one because they're taking up too much of my time. And if you're someone who's done that, well done, good for you. In all seriousness, yeah, because it's not easy to simply to say I'm not going to spend all this time scrolling through TikTok or wherever, because it takes away, because by the time sometimes you end up 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, then you realize that the time you were going to use to maybe do something productive with yourself has already gone. So I can totally understand if you're somebody who cuts down on it. I'm just going to scroll up to see what else. To be fair, my dad started freaking out if I was late home from school. This is why I got a basic Nokia 3310 when I was 11. That's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel about my partner. Sometimes when she's traveling home in the night, One Angry Pagan, I totally feel the same thing. Like I get paranoid about when my partner is traveling home alone, even though she's totally all right. I still get paranoid about it. Like I just want, like, to me, it's like I just want to make sure she's safe, like that kind of thing. When you care about someone so much, it's understandable to feel that emotion. My older sister has tracking devices on her kids' phones, so she's always knowing where they are. I'm not 100%, I like straight away off the bat, I'm thinking that's wrong. But at the same time, I'd be a hypocrite because I feel be a hypocrite to say, well, if I had children, would I not want to know exactly where they are as well? And I probably would say yes, even though it feels wrong to track your kids' phones. Doesn't it not feel wrong? Tell you, most adults have the same problems as Andrew Luke. Yeah, kids these days can't function without a phone in their hands. Yeah, they need to try. I think that's another thing they need to learn. They need to learn to try and hold, try without a phone. Can they try without a phone? To be fair, I can't. I used to do, and I think I talked about this before on live streams. I don't think we're going to be covering all the stories today, guys, because I really want to because I'm really enjoying this discussion. But I did try to do no social media morning, like up till 12 in the afternoon, and I might try it again to try and mitigate my time on social media. But because I'm a content creator and I have content to get done, it's kind of near to next. It can be difficult for me. It depends on what I get done on certain days as well. So I can't always commit to something like that, even though I want to. Ban phones for under 16s. No, parents will be up in arms. Parents will be up in arms because they want to be able to contact their child if the child is not with them. So I don't think that would work. Phones don't kill people. Tories do, says Andrew Luke. But phones can really damage their education and future. Why don't we do... That was Andrew Luke, by the way, who said that. Why don't we do what they do here? During classes, kids can have their phones turned off. During recess, they can use them, and why not everybody else does the same thing? This is already engraved in society. Yeah, I mean, I originally thought that they should have it off in the playgrounds and whatnot, but maybe during the breaks, it's not the end of the world. If I'm honest, maybe it's not so bad the end of the world. Stephen Warren also says, I fear that kids are missing out on a lot of life because they have to live. They live through their phones, but it's up to adults to find ways to show them a better way. Yeah, that is 100% agree with you on that. Just gonna say, I love kids, which is why I have none, says Simon, says 55 in brackets, future worries. Jal says, social media to me is reduced to YouTube and my email. My phone is often turned off. I only use it for making and receiving calls, listen to music, and see some videos. No net on my phone. Yeah, and he also said, I need my peace of mind, and people do not need to know where I am all the time. In fact, I go into the bush and leave it at home. Whenever happens. It would happen anyway with the phone. When I go, actually, believe it or not, when I went for my walk today, I never looked at my phone at all, and because I do sometimes go on my walks without even looking at my phone, at all. I got my first phone in 2005, says One Angry Pagan. I'm 30 now, didn't have my own phone until I was in secondary school, whereas now kids in primary school are more commonly having their first phone 8 years old. Yeah, I do think under 10 there should be a ban. Come on, do we really need a child? Does a 10-year-old child need to be carrying their phone? But again, I can hear parents screaming, yeah, but I need to know where my child is. Well, if your child is under 10 and is not with someone you don't know, There needs to be questions about you. Interesting one, anyway. Well, thanks for your feedback on that, guys. Let's move on because we've already gone quite a lot into this anyway. But we may come back and talk around this anyway. But I really wanted to have a deep discussion, and I'm glad you guys are talking about, because I think it was really really important. Oh, 91 Lee says microtransactions in games for kids are a joke too. Yeah, that's something that needs to be. Governments need to introduce policies to crack down on that. I think there's policies you can put in place to try and crack down on that. And if the game companies don't do, then they are found to break the law or whatever, then they can get massive fines or something from the government, like huge fines. I think they should to basically say to these gaming companies, like, I'm talking like really high, massive fines, something like that. But guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button and share it across social media, so that it really helps support the channel, and subscribe because it really does help as well. And welcome to Ollie and Pingu about their thoughts later, guys. Let's look. Let's talk about the one you guys have been hearing about all today, and that is Rwanda. So over 18,000 who faced Rwanda removal are now having their case dealt with in the UK. The FOI data reveals about 3/4 of people given notices intent have since been put into the asylum system. So I did, obviously, I haven't watched the speech, but obviously I saw Max's video about asylum with Rishi Sunak's key parts of what Sunak has said in his speech. And I think that's I'm still standing on this insane ground, guys, where I believe that those planes will not take off. I'm still standing on that ground. I still am standing on that belief and hope that it never takes off. It does not happen. No, please don't let it happen. I'm really am standing on that ground. And yes, I will probably get pushed off if a plane does take off, without a doubt. But I'll gladly die on that hill, because I think this is absolutely outrageous. I think it's insane. I think it's cruel. I think it's a waste of taxpayer money. I think it's a waste of politicians' times. I think it's a waste of the House of Lords' time. I think it's a waste of media time when we have a cost of living crisis that we should be kicking and screaming about as well. And some of the things that were said in Sunak's speech about, bringing in more workers, more lawyers and that, like, he's obviously they didn't find new ones. They've obviously pulled them from other places where they're needed. $18,000 face Rwanda removal. Yeah, more of this. I want this to stop. I want this to be buried so hard, guys. But he's going ahead with this. It's crazy. Hiya, Bubba. Good to see you there in the Twitch chat. I have not a majority of chat in the YouTube, but good to see you there, buddy. Right, let's dive into this. So more than 18,000 asylum seekers threatened being sent to Rwanda are now having their case prosecuted in the UK instead. Freedom of information data obtained by The Guardian reveals that between January 2021 and June 2023, about 3/4, that's 18,000 of those who previously received notice of intent letters indicating their claims would not be processed in the UK, have been subsequently admitted into the asylum system. A notice of intent letters is issued after the Home Office had declared an asylum claim admissible, and removal from the UK is being considered. Data previously obtained from the Home Office about the number of notices issued over a similar period, January 2021 to March 2023, received 24,000 notices were issued. The latest discourse comes as Rishi Sunak hopes that his safety of Rwanda bill will clear its final hurdles of its difficult passage through Parliament this week. The Prime Minister said on Monday morning that the first flights to Kigali would take off in 10 to 12 weeks, contradicting his long-standing promise that they would start this spring. Rules about the admissible of asylum claims come into force in January 2021. Since then, successive pieces of legislation have introduced increasingly strict rules clamping down on those who arrive via irregular means, such as dinghies crossing the channel as part of the government's vow to stop the boats. He's still not going to stop the boats. Do you know what? One of the last Conservative polls I saw that there are Conservatives who generally believe this will work. Conservative voters, and I'm thinking, you wallies. That's all I thought. Well, crossings have been at high levels so far this year, with asylum seekers telling The Guardian that smugglers have dropped their price from approximately £4,000 to about £1,000. Wow. The smugglers are doing so well that they can drop the prices. The Illegal Migration Act, which became law on 20th July 2023, places a legal duty on the Home Secretary to remove anyone arriving irregularly to the UK, to their home country or to Rwanda. Not all parts of the Act have become operational, and so far nobody has been removed to Rwanda. No, but we've taken Rwandan refugees in, but we don't talk about that. At a session of Parliament Cross-Party Public Accounts Committee on Monday, the Conservative MP Tim Locken asked senior Home Office officials what was going to happen to the roughly 40,000 asylum seekers who had arrived in the UK since July 2023, but were not having their claims processed here, with the prospect of them all being sent to Rwanda viewed as unlikely. Officials were unable to provide a clear answer. Oh, what a shame. Yeah, of course they can't provide an answer, guys. Steve Smith, the Chief Executive of the charity Care for Callous, said, every single one of these 18,078 asylum claims were unnecessary, put on hold by these notices of intent. We have only left the, I'm losing my words, which have only had the efforts of keeping people's lives in limbo. This government, this a government that has a gimmick in Rwanda, but no plan to deal with the tens of thousands of asylum claims stuck in the government's created permanent backlog. Holding people in the asylum system for years is bad for the people's health and well-being, and it pushes up the cost of what is a completely broken asylum system under this current government. Government spokesperson said asylum seekers who arrive illegally after July 2023 will be subject to a duty to remove and will have their asylum claim be declared inadmissible. Once the safety of the Rwanda bill and treaty are in place, we will get flights off the ground as soon as possible. Yeah, please, yeah, just... And the thing is, they're still blaming Labour somehow. Like, somehow this is all Labour's fault as well. And I'm like, dude, you have the majority in the Commons. You have the majority in the House of Lords. How is this blame? How is this Labour? Well, it's obviously, it's got to be Labour's fault. It's always Labour's fault. Even though they have no control, we have to blame Labour. Nuts, guys. Absolutely nuts. What are you guys saying in the chat? Hi, Doc Davis. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. Starmer has already committed Labour to repeal this if it goes through. Repeatedly, he's also said he would repeal it even if it worked because it is inhumane and a waste of public funds, says one angry pagan. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, yeah, Labour have no intention to continue the policy. But obviously, you know, things can change. Let's hope it doesn't change. Things have gone downhill since Angela Rayner became PM. Since Angela Rayner became PM in 2010. Huh? Yeah, I think you're confused there, Andrew. Pray to your God, Sunak. I don't catch you, says Duke. Well, you do issue a lot of vengeance, that's to be sure. I love video games, but microtransactions and loot boxes can both get into the bin. Mad Monk says, my first mobile phone was a workplace away back in 1989, and you should carry the battery pack with a shoulder strap. No bloody games on it either, says Mad Monk. No, not even a simple bat and ball game. Jao says, if I am in a date and the date keeps talking and viewing her virtual interest in the phone, I walk out. I have done it and will do it again. That's a lack of respect. Yeah, because they're not interested in talking to you and having proper discussions with you. Like, the thing is, it's I need to put that tracking device on to find myself, says Ruth. Just on that one, yeah, it's a problem as well when you go out to meals and whatnot. You really have to like stay off your phone when you're out. If you're going out for a meal with your partner or whatever, don't go looking at your phones unless you're not having a discussion with them. But you know, when I'm out for meals or whatever with family and whatnot, which is great. We don't actually pull the phones out unless we actually run out of things to talk about, and then sometimes we'll look at our phones a little bit, but we're not like sitting down and then just staring at our phones or looking at the menu, then telling our menu and then just staring at our phones. We're actually talking to each other across the tables. But if you're going out for a meal and you're just kind of just like staring at your phones and you're not even talking to each other, and it's like again, what are you doing? So, if I had a mobile in 1988, carried it about like a briefcase, yeah. Sunak has become the biggest joke in Western Europe politics. What will he do when after agreements start to be suspended if he goes ahead with this, says Zhao. I don't I'm obviously they're trying to push it through now, as I'm assuming right now as we speak, aren't they? I just don't know. I just feel like there's way too many legal loopholes for them to get this working. Like I just feel like it's a lot of talk and a lot of rhetoric, and they just want that PR stunts to say, "Hey, we've done this. We've shipped them all to Rwanda," you know. And then they'll go on and they'll say, "Hey, we've had to bring in some Rwandan refugees," but don't publish that. Daily Mail, Telegraph, and other right-wing news outlets. We're not supposed to talk about that. So, yeah. What do you What? Ollie! No! Ollie! I hate this microphone, actually. It has a mind of its own. At least the orb is fine, and the lava lamp is formed in all of its glory. Stop it. By the way, if you still want to change the name of the penguin, cast your votes in the Sunday community post if you want to change Pingu's name. And no, I'm not worried about any copyright infringements or anything like that, guys, because my channel is too small and this live stream is not monetized as well. So, moving on, guys. Let's talk about flags. No, I'm not joking. This one's from The Guardian. Keir Starmer asks Labour candidates to fly the flag on St George's Day. Labour leader uses Telegraph column to emphasise his patriotic stance, but worries that he may alienate ethnic minority voters. So I had a video a while ago, if you guys remember, about the flyers that Labour were going to be using having Union Jacks on them. Now, I don't think it's the end of the world to have a flag to flag. Good evening, Casper Nova. Good to see you, buddy. I don't think it's the end of the world to have the flag, but I don't really like. Do they need to plaster it everywhere, sort of thing? And I feel like I generally feel like, to me, that Keir Starmer is trying to push. He's trying to push Labour to the right with this whole flag stuff. Trying to appeal to voters a set of voters who generally do not like Labour in any way, shape or form, no matter what you try to do. That's generally what my consensus is. And I just don't understand why he's trying to appeal to these kind of voters. Like, the flag is not the be-all to end-all. It really is not. But I don't know why he's trying to outflank the Conservatives on this kind of thing, because it doesn't really... I don't understand why he's trying to win these voters when he already has the majority. He already has the majority in most of the polls. Like, he should be working to build those to build them, and not take those votes for granted right now. Because just because the polls are in this position doesn't mean they're going to be like that at the general election. So I do think it's a bit of a... Yeah, Starmer in the Tory graph. Yeah, Doc. Yeah, he was talking in the Telegraph. So Keir Starmer has written to all of Labour's general election candidates, urging them to mark the St George's Day with enthusiasm and to fly the flag across the country as he attempts to outmaneuver the Tories on national identity. What is our national identity? Explain this to me. What is it? Like, someone's going to have to explain it to me. The Labour leader is trying to reassure swing voters that the party has changed under his leadership, and after a perceived lack of patriotism under Jeremy Corbyn, who often appear uncomfortable with British institutions and symbols and argue for a progressive patriotism. This feels too American. However, Starmer told the candidates that the real patriotism was not just about representing shared symbols and sentiments, but also about serving the country, whether that was through the armed forces, the NHS, or as politicians. What's that, Andrew Luke? Fish and chips and vegan options. Fish and chips, vegan options. Starmer's shadow cabinet will gather deep in the English countryside on Monday for a primarily shambolic, symbolotic meeting in which he will argue that patriotism is a force for good, including in breeding the next generation of sporting talent. On Sunday, the Labour leader addressed the internal crisis in an article for the Sunday Telegraph, telling them that he has no time for those who flinch at the St George's flag. He also warned against the flag being surrendered to the far right. We cannot allow it to become the preservative of the tiny minority who want to drive hatred in our communities. Now, I do understand this premise of... I totally understand this premise here. I totally understand this premise, and I'm sure you guys understand it too, because obviously there have been those, obviously, right-wingers and whatnot who are consistently flying the flag in it of the wrong kinds of people. And it does make you not want to associate any way, shape, or form with that flag as well, because of the kind of people who've been waving it around. So I can understand from that point of view. Just saying. Separately, Starmer is facing discontent from Labour MPs over the prominent use of the Union flag in election campaign materials, amid concern that it may alienate ethnic minority voters and others. Labour insiders have pointed to polling from More in Common in 2019 that found that when good people were asked about whether seeing the British flag flying makes them feel good or bad, 75% of respondents replied good. A group called Progressive Activists described More in Common as more likely to vote for Labour, the Greens and the SNP, were the only segment in which a majority, 69%, replied bad, compared with 31% among other respondents. In his letter, Starmer wrote, whether it's establishing NATO and the NHS as monuments to our collective sacrifice in the 1940s, or the renewal of our public realm at the start of the century, Labour is at its best when it has celebrated, defended and served the values of our country and its people. I still don't, I still remember what Caroline Lucas was saying on The Rest is Politics when we had that clip of her a while back, and which is like, what's our journey, what's our future, where are we going? And I still don't know the answer to that. Real patriotism isn't just about representing our shared symbols and sentiments, it's about serving the country we love. That's why after all the changes that I've made, this is now a Labour Party that will always put the country above party. In a direct attack on the Tory party, he added, now we know our Conservative opponents, amid in chaos and division, are incapable of saying the same. Frankly, when you've trashed the economy, hammered mortgage holders, weakened the union, neglect our armed forces, and repeatedly broken laws you expect others to follow, and denigrate some of our proudest national institutions, from the BBC to the National Trust in England's football team, you lose any right to call yourself a patriotic party. That is extremely damaging, but also 100% true. No, Labour is the patriotic party now. We will celebrate St George's Day with enthusiasm, and enthusiasm shared with each Patreon Saint Day on our aisles. Our Change Labour Party is proud in our national identity and ready to serve. It just feels like a bit of a... Like, there's nothing wrong with celebrating St George's Day. That's fine. And there's nothing wrong with having a few flags, but you don't need to go crazy, guys. You don't need to go crazy over it. I'm just saying. Don't need to go crazy on it. But obviously, some of them will have something different on that. We'll see it as something different, to be fair. Because English weather makes flags look like haunted raincoats, says Andrew Luke. Whenever I'm with a woman on a date or whatever, I am with her, just her. I only ask for the same thing, says Jow. I'm assuming that's responding with the phones. Remember to wear a dragon on your collar, says Andrew Luke. Mad Monk says, I really don't think I will be flying the flag. Maybe burning it, but definitely not flying it. You won't be flying the Scottish flag? No, obviously, you're talking about the George's flag, obviously. England, we can go anywhere and behave like Aspos. No one can come around here and they don't adjust. Yeah, those kind of people, they really, really, I really don't like those people because they misrepresent. Because I have to be honest, they are a minority of actually good people living in this country that actually go on holidays and actually behave themselves. It's like to me, it's just I hate those people that bring that stigma of what English people are like, because we're not all like those rowdy kind of fans. Put it this way, Labour are now fighting the Tories on their own turf, says Duke Vengeance. Yeah. Yeah, it does appear to be that way as well. So Labour are now the National Front, says Steve McMahon. I don't know if I want to go that far, but it definitely seemed like to going in that direction. I'm more of an axe than sword wielder than flags. Flags are just underway of country, says Jow. Yeah, flag is just a symbol of what your nation is. You shouldn't be like we're not America, but they're obviously trying to Americanize us, aren't they? To be fair. Right, guys. So I think it's time for a little break because we've gone quite a fair bit. We've gone way too far, actually. To be fair, I do have other articles to cover, but hold on 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So apparently there's been some broken news that's just come in. Ollie's informed me, so we better hear what they have to say here. I'm gonna. Don't worry, I'm gonna play it now.
Welcome to Broken News. After years of falling revenue, there's finally some good news for the beleaguered British High Street. The fancy fast food fuckers Pret-a-Manger say they've signed a deal to take over every vacant storefront across the UK. Our reporter has more.
Back in 1984, when Pret-a-Manger first opened here in Hampstead, some said it could never work as a business. But not bothering to properly list ingredients or allergens on packaging, soups that are saltier than Captain Birdseye's dick end, or salads that cost as much as a combi van haven't held the company back. Now, the business model of putting a branch of your business within 2 meters of another branch of your business, which itself is just 1 meter away from another branch of your business, and then repeating that over and over and over and over and over again, seems to have worked. And Pret-a-Manger are set to take over every single vacant lot in every British town and city. The company says it's delighted to further expand on its efforts to convince everyone that its food is healthy. Industry experts say the success of Pret has been down to one single masterstroke. It was going to be called Ready to Eat, but bosses translated that into bullshit French, so it seemed all dead posh in that, and they could charge you £3 for a banana or whatever. Back to you.
What a lovely story. That's all from Broken News. You're up to date.
Thanks, guys. Larry and Paul there with the very important broken news there. Very grateful for Larry and Paul as always providing very important, very informative news stories there. Make sure you always stay up to date with Larry and Paul with the latest broken news, giving you the most truthful and honest news that you could ever get anywhere in the world. Yeah. Yep, true, guys. It's true. So before we go to the next one, guys, just wanted to do a little cheap plug because this is really, really important, guys. If you haven't already considered, please consider becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Being a YouTube member really does make a big difference to me, makes a big difference to Ollie and Pingu here as well. By being a YouTube member, guys, you get access to custom emojis, which I'm sure you guys in the live YouTube chat are going to play some of those for us now. We got the lava lamp you can do the orb, and you could be happy and sad Ollie as well. So that's pretty cool emojis that you can use, whether it's not just here in the live chat whenever I do the premiere videos, which is another one dropping tomorrow and Thursday respectively as well, so you can always do them there as well. Not only that, as a YouTube member, I will also respond to your comments whenever you comment on any of my videos as well. So any of my videos that you do, please, whenever you comment on them, and I greatly appreciate all comments and feedback, so I read all my comments, even the ones that tell me to go suck a lemon or whatever. Yes, even the rude comments, guys, I even read them. Yes, believe it or not. Anyone who's a member and comments on my videos, I will always read and respond to them. So if you are a YouTube member, I would greatly appreciate it. If you are a $2.99 member, which some of you guys I'm very grateful for are here in the chat, you guys also know that you get early access to my content, which means you guys get to see it first and foremost. As soon as I produce the content, upload it. Once it just gives it about an hour or so, just to make sure there's no monetization issues, then it becomes available for you guys to watch straight away, for you guys to see. And guys, if you're here today, You know, while I would say super chats are always greatly kindly appreciated, the best way to support me is by gifting memberships, because not everyone knows about the perks and the benefits. So just by giving out memberships, if you can, they make a difference, and it also encourages others to perhaps stay on as well. And we have currently over 80 YouTube members, which is absolutely fantastic, and it really does help financially support me and the work that I do. So remember that you guys, what you guys are doing really does keep the channel going, really has me doing the content that I'm doing for you guys. So thank you everyone who is a YouTube member. It really does mean the world to me. Just as other options, if you didn't want to do it that way, there is the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description as well. And also you could also join me on Patreon as well. You could also do the content, enjoy exclusive content there as well by being a paid member on there as well, which by the way, I actually get a bigger cut if you were to do that on Patreon as well. So thank you to everyone who's been a member, and I really, really appreciate it, guys. So let's move on. Next one that we got for you guys is from iNews, and was with the headline: Tories face a new pay clash with public sector workers before the autumn election. So the government are expected to offer a pay rise of around 4% to 2.5 million workers in the public sector. Just 4%. I mean, it's just like, can you not be more insulting, like, to the public sector, like, who are already kind of struggling, whatnot? And it's just like, yeah, we'll give you a little bit of a pay rise, but yeah, nothing too much. And it's just like, why are they doing this? Steve McMorran says Pingu could get a job at McDonald's as a flipper. He could get a job as a flipper. But he's more than happy to hide behind the orb in the lava lamp at the moment. But he could get a job at McDonald's as a flipper. He could do. This is, you know, we know how the Conservatives feel about state, public-owned, and we know that the Conservatives, if they had it their way, especially in even Reform would have it their way, they would privatise everything. From police to literally everything that you do, they would privatise it to turn it all into a monopoly, into a market, capitalism, all that nonsense. So, yeah, this just feels like just pittance, in my opinion. So the government faces a fresh pre-election clash with the unions over public sector pay, as ministers are set to defy calls to restore wages back to their pre-pandemic levels. The salaries of at least 2.5 million workers, including nurses, teachers and civil servants, will be set in the next 3 months. Whitehall insiders expect the government to offer an increase of around 4% in most cases. The Eye has been told that would be higher than the current rate of consumer price inflation, which stands at 3.2%, and is generally expected to fall further. But it would lag behind the 6% rate of wage growth in the private sector, and would not make up for the real terms in pay cuts that many workers have suffered since inflation began to spike in the wake of the pandemic. A pay rise of 4% would not trigger a ballot for strike action amongst most union representative NHS workers, the Eye understands, but it is still likely to be rejected. The figure would be seen as a mediocre, a level that is not enough to satisfy pay demands, but not so low to compel union leaders to recommend walkouts. Rejection of the figure would be expected to lead to negotiations between the health unions and the government to secure a higher figure. A figure below inflation would trigger a strike ballot, however. Some unions have already threatened to take a more hard-line stance, including the Royal College of Nursing, which is pushing for a pay settlement for nurses that matches the more generous one offered to doctors last year. The PCS, which represents nearly 200,000 civil servants, including those who work in the Passports Office and the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency, is already battling its members for possible strike action. Industrial unrest over the summer would risk spilling into the general election campaign expected to kick off in the autumn and raise election questions over the two main parties' stances on public sector pay. Labour has refused to comment on what salary increases should be offered to workers before the completion of the current process, and is unlikely to commit to any policy that would be required additional spending by the Treasury. The civil service pay remit guidance for this year is already 3 weeks overdue and is likely to be published in the next coming weeks. The Independent Pay Body Review, which sets wages for teachers, NHS staff, prison officers and members of the armed forces, among others, will report to the government from the time between May and June with their recommendations. Yeah, give us more money. That's the recommendation. Hello, Solari the Cat. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Government spokesman said this year civil servants pay remit guidance will be published in due course, and we are currently awaiting recommendations on public sector pay rewards from the pay body reviews, and we will not re-enact. Our priority is always to balance fairness with affordability for the taxpayer, while being mindful of the wider economic situation. So this last little bit, this is 2 years of unrest. So ever since inflation began to rise quickly in 2021, public sector unions have been pushing for larger than usual pay rises to avoid a squeeze on their members' living standards. The Institute for Physical Studies has calculated that workers in the public sector have seen their income fall by 0.3% in real terms since the last election, while private sector employees have had a 2.3% rise. Large-scale strikes by junior doctors, consultants, nurses and other NHS staff, train drivers, teachers and others have damaged their economic growth and hindered Rishi Sunak's effort to cut NHS waiting lists. Last year, the government managed to resolve most of the strikes by offering one-off bonus payments to help adjust for the cost of living crisis. But the unusual high pay awards have put strain on the Treasury and forced many Whitehall departments and individual organisations such as schools to find savings elsewhere. Existing budget allocations imply that wage growth of 2% is the maximum affordability without having to come up with the new money for the exchequer or cuts within the public sector. But any below inflation would offer almost certainly to spark fresh strikes. The government says that its decisions are driven by the Independent Pay Body Review, which is also owned by the government, which obviously does whatever the government tells it to do. So it's not an independent body pay review, even though it's titled as an independent body pay review. You should not be taking the Independent Body Pay Review as an independent body. But some unions have boycotted these bodies on the grounds that their remits is set by ministers who also retain the final say, meaning that they are heavily constrained by their recommendations. Like I said, not an independent body pay review because it's only just got the name independent, because it's not actually an independent body pay review. Labour has sought to avoid making any firm commitments on the future path of public sector pay, following a rule set down by Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves. Yep, she's playing the waiting game card, that the party cannot be making funding promises without explaining how they would be paid for. Yeah, interesting. Interesting that, to say the least. This is not going away, man. People's cost of living is too much right now, and they need the pay to emphasize to go along with it. And at the moment, it's just not there for them, guys. It's just not there. It really isn't. It's incredibly frustrating, that is for sure. I'm just going to see what you guys are saying in the chat. If you haven't already, I'm going to be closing the poll soon, guys, on the live YouTube chat poll. Also, if you're in the Twitch chat and you happen, feel free to talk more. Don't be shy. You're more than welcome to say hello there. We've had over 20 people cast their votes on the poll in the live YouTube chat. If you can't see the poll, just try refreshing the stream. It should come up. Asking if schools try to break pupils' addictions to smartphones with 12-hour days in the school. So do you agree with this idea? So 15% of you say yes, it will help. 70% think of you know it's a waste of time. 50% of you don't know the answer. So there. Jow is just plugging the some of the stuff there, guys. The membership, the Patreon, and the Buy Me a Coffee. If you guys want to have a look at them, we greatly appreciate it. It's not independent then, says Larry the Cat. Yes, it's not independent, even though it says it's independent, but it's not actually independent because it's actually owned by the government and dictated by the government. So it says the name independent, but it's not actually independent, if you understand what I just said. Okay. Also, it's reminding us to hit the like button. That would be greatly appreciated as well. Yes, a cat has wandered in. Everyone is waving at the cat. Cat4 is here as well. Good to see you, Cat4. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend as well. We all have our own, says Jow. I think most Portuguese thing I saw was a drunk fat guy about 190 metre and a big moustache riding a scooter with a Portuguese flag. Well, that is incredibly patriotic. I'm in a game called From the Depths. You can build your own ships and stuff, and you can fight other ships, says Duke Ventures. Playing video games while listening. Appreciate it. Could they privatise themselves? Says Doc Davis. They could. Well, mind you, though, actually, it's funny you used to say that. I mean, they have tried to screw their own members out of more money, to be fair. So maybe they already are privatised themselves. So maybe they've already privatised themselves. That's probably the case there. Right, moving on, because got I don't want to go all night. We're not going to be doing a Marcus night. Just this one here is a short one, guys. So Huw Edwards, for those who don't know, Huw Edwards is one of the most prominent figures on the BBC, and it's been announced that Huw Edwards will be leaving the BBC on medical advices from the BBC themselves. So the TV news presenter Huw Edwards has resigned from the BBC on medical advice, the corporation has said. The broadcaster has been off air since last July following newspaper reports that he claimed he paid a young person for sexually explicit images. He was the BBC's most high-profile news anchor, often choosing a front of cover for major national events. Huw Edwards has today resigned and left the BBC. A short statement said on Monday, after 40 years of service, he has explained that his decision was made on the basis of medical advice from his doctors. The BBC has accepted his resignation, which he believes will allow all parties to move forward. We don't believe it's appropriate to comment any further. His departure comes 9 months after his wife had been admitted to hospital with serious mental health issues. Police did not take any action against him, saying there was no evidence that a criminal offence had been committed. The allegations arose when the Sun newspaper claimed that an unnamed BBC presenter paid a young person for explicit photos beginning when they were 17. The paper's source says the mother and stepfather of the young person, but a letter issued on the younger person's behalf by law described their accounts as rubbish. The paper and the BBC also report several further claims of inappropriate behaviour, and the BBC has launched an internal investigation. After days of speculations about the presenter's identity, Edwards' wife Vicky publicly named him. She was doing so primarily out of concern of his mental well-being and to protect their children, and that he had been treated for severe depression in recent years. In February, the BBC apologised for the way it handled the original complaint, maybe the young person's family, to the corporation last month, 2 months before the Sun ran its story. Edwards, 32, had not publicly commented. He had been suspended since July. The normal policy is that an employee receives a full pay while suspended. He was the corporation's highest paid news reviewer, receiving between £435,000 and £439,000 in the year 2022-2023. BBC has confirmed that Edwards has not been paid off as part of his departure. The Welsh presenter joined BBC News as a trainee in 1984 and in 2003 became one of the main presenters on BBC One 10 o'clock news, widely seen as the corporate's flagship bulletin. He also presented and commentated on events like the general election and Royal Reddington funeral, and announced the death of the Queen to the nation in 2022. That was was one of the toughest things. And I remember Huw was actually saying, Huw actually, when he talked about it after, that he actually prepared himself for that speech, prepared for when the inevitable comes for the Queen, that he actually was practicing that moment to announce the death of the Queen. It was whatever you might think of Huw Edwards, guys, that was he has been the face of British broadcasting for a long time, and he's been smeared by a vile, disgusting newspaper without any justice. I just feel like that the Sun were just doing this to make a story out of nothing, and I feel like they've smeared this man. And yes, you can argue this man shouldn't be earning the money. You might argue in the chat that, and this is someone who has mental health problems, and you guys know about my mental health problems. I've talked to you guys about that as well. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has issues, and I generally feel for Huw, because he was the face of British broadcasting. He really was, and it's a real shame for him to go out like this. It doesn't feel right to me, but maybe you guys will disagree. But he didn't deserve what he got from the Sun at all, in my opinion, guys. And I'm just going to put that out there. So this last one, guys, I've got for you is this is from Sky News. This is about you might have seen this story battered around a few places already now. So a parliamentary researcher has been charged with spying for China. So 2 men were arrested in March last year and have since been on police bail while the investigation continued. So there's this story not just here, but I also believe this is happening in this was happening in America. There was also some connection with America as well with regards to spying in China. Now, we've covered many stories here. We've covered many stories with regards to... I liked him and heartbroken what they did to him, says Ruth. Yeah. Sorry, I do not know enough to talk about him, says Jao. That's fine. That's fine. It's because we've known, here in the UK, Jao, we've known Huw Edwards as a BBC presenter for a long time. There's a reason the Sun is banned in Liverpool, says Duke Vengers. Yes, of course. Of course, there's a reason for that. The Tories are practically FSB West, so says Jao. Yeah. They are privatised to the Russians, says Duke. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I've covered a few exclusive stories with the Eye about, Chinese or Russian hackers obviously trying to get in Britain, get inside some of Britain's cyber warfare, as well as trying to influence politicians and whatnot as well. There's also been those stories coming up as well. So, and we've covered extensively, not just here, but also on Patreon as well. So these stories are still happening. And it's and I just feel like because of the current government that we have that just haven't really been doing enough, it's kind of really annoying. So anyway, let's read a little bit into this, guys, just to help us out a little bit. So, 2 men, one of whom is a parliamentary researcher, has been charged with spying for China after allegedly supplying information which could be useful to an enemy. Okay. So, a former parliamentary researcher, Christopher Cash, 29, of Whitechapel, London, was charged under the Official Secrets Act after a counter-terrorism investigation. So, Christopher Berry, 32, of Witney, Oxfordshire, was also charged under the same act. It is alleged that between December 2021 and February 2023, the man obtained, recorded, and published information for a purpose prejudicial to the safeties of the interests of the state, and which could be directly or indirectly useful to an enemy. So they're not going to tell us the full details, obviously. Cash worked in Parliament for the China Research Group and has links to senior Conservative MPs. Links to the Conservatives. What a surprise. Included Alistair King, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and now Security Minister Tom Tugendhat. So Tom also has potential connections there too. What a surprise, guys. Mr. King said regarding the Crown's prosecution announcement this afternoon that the 2 men will be charged on espionage offences on behalf of China. As this matter is now subjuditional, it's essential that neither nor anyone else is anything that might prejudge a criminal trial relating to this matter for national security. I will not be commenting further. Both men were arrested in March last year and have been on police bail when the investigation continued. They will appear at Westminster Magistrate Court on Friday. The commander, Dominic Murray, the head of the Met's Counter-Terrorism Command, said this has been an extremely complex investigation into what are very serious allegations. We are working closely with the Crown's Prosecution Service as our investigation has progressed, and this has led to the 2 men being charged today. Where there's been a degree of public and media interest in this case, and we would ask others to refrain them from any further comment or speculation so that the criminal justice process can now run its course. And Nick Price, the head of the Crown's Prosecution Service Special Crime and Counter-Terrorism Division, has said that Christopher Berry, 32, and Christopher Cash, 29, 2 Christophers for the price of 1, will be charged with providing prejudicial information to a foreign state. China will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on Friday, 26th of April. So that's this Friday. Interesting. Not really too much there. I feel like normally the Eye has a bit more information when it comes to that kind of stuff. But we have obviously covered extensively news on that as well. Excuse me. But yeah, it is. It's probably it's probably not going to be the last time we'll be talking about spying stuff as well. Especially between now and the I feel like I've got something stuck in my throat. Between now and the next election, the next general election, and also with what's going on with the US elections as well. So it's going to be something we're going to be constantly talking about as well. So just before I come to both chats, because there's been comments in both chats, I'm just going to end the poll for the YouTube live chat. I want to say thank you everyone who's cast their votes on that. So schools trying to break pupils' addictions to smartphones with 12-hour days. So that's basically essentially meaning having kids in schools for 12 hours was asked. Do you agree with this policy? No, it's a waste of time. 69% said. 15% said yes, it will help, and 15% said they don't know. So 20 people cast their votes. Thank you to everyone who casted their vote on that. That is really appreciated. I'm just going to go to the Twitch chat there. What is a snowflake? Yeah, what is a snowflake? It depends on your definition. The snowflake term is basically monstrous balls. So it's something that I've basically associated with myself with as the snowflake is the icon of the channel ever since we started it. We've been referred to as snowflakes, because of certain policies or feelings and that. So that's where the term snowflake comes from. It's quite. I know the origins of the term is quite disturbing. Yeah. Concentration camp guards called the Jewish in the mass graves snowflakes. Interesting. Let me see what you guys are saying in the YouTube chat. What's going on there, Casper? I guess they got crisscross, says Andrew Luke. Very good, very good. I wish I could use super chat, but I don't think I have. I don't have the Christopher Cash. That's fine, Andrew Luke. Honestly, if you can't afford the super chats or gifted memberships, that's fine. But if you do, that's great. Appreciate it. Like I've always said to people, like look after yourself before you look after me, guys. And that's why I recommend the memberships, because it's once a month, as opposed to doing super chats. But if you're having financial constraints, don't worry about renewing your membership. Sort yourself out first, and if you can support, please do. But if you can't, it's not the end of the world. That's the thing. One Angry Pagan with the £2 super chat. Thanks, One Angry Pagan. Appreciate it. The Tories pay so much attention to security. Yeah, they really do pay so much attention to security. Yeah, I mean the amount of scandals that've been going on is just absolutely crazy. Wild Awakening's magic or wand and close the security holes. Yeah, probably. Probably will, guys. Right, so I've got, actually, believe it or not, I've got one more video for you guys, actually. It's not a news story. So we've got one more video for you guys before we wrap things up, and we will check on Ollie and Pingu behind us in just a moment before we wrap things up as well. I swear to God, guys, when is someone else going to get on this goddamn radio show? I feel like we hear from this guy from Portsmouth all the damn time. You just can't silence these people. But anyway, here it is. Explaining Head, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this funny video.
Colin from Portsmouth is on the line. Hello, Colin.
I am disgusted, Anthony. Absolutely disgusted with what Elon Musk has done to Twitter.
Well, I didn't know you were on Twitter, Colin.
Oh, I go on to see what people like me are thinking so that I can think the same thing. But
Right.
It's gone massively downhill since that bloke took over.
I thought you'd be in your element, Colin, with this new Twitter.
Everyone on there agrees with me now. It's terrible.
Right.
I post something provocative that I haven't thought through and don't believe anyway, and instead of people pointing out that I'm a bigot, I get a load of morons nodding their heads. What kind of social media platform's that?
But isn't it about owning the libs, Colin?
But once you've owned them and they've left to masturbate or whatever
Mastodon.
it is...
Mastodon.
Yeah, whatever. Then you've got nothing more to eat, have you? If you don't grow wheat, Anthony, you don't have bread in the winter. And what Elon Musk has done has bought $44 billion worth of Hovis White Sliced and said, here you are, lads, stick that in the fridge and when it's gone, it's gone.
Who puts bread in the
I
fridge?
am begging you, Musk, put Twitter back to how it was. If I wanted to hear people that agreed with me, I'd stay at my local.
Oh, you're banned
and
from your local.
Also
Yeah.
begging you, Elon Musk, unban me from my local.
Yeah.
Anyway, Anthony, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
I like Sam Bapp 69 though. She can stay.
Yeah, I think she might be a porn bot, Colin.
That's a shame. We've had some lovely chats.
Oh man, the amount of bots on Twitter is insane, guys. Oh man, I think I've blocked at least more than 200 of those kind of bots. Like they follow you and they expect you to follow back, and I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna block you. It is a bit crazy. The bots on there is a bit crazy, to be fair. But Ollie, are you gonna smile? Well, okay, I'm gonna turn Ollie's frown upside down just because on the count that One Angry Pagan did give a £2 super chat, so we did get something today from you guys. So I understand, obviously, some people need to look after their belts, like I always said. So thank you for the £2 super chat. Anyone who does any on any live streams and that gets Ollie to turn his frown upside down. Yes, we have decided that his name is going to be Pingu. He or she, guys. I'll let you guys decide that one anyway. So, but Pingu is the name. Thank you guys for your casting your votes on the community chat on that one. So I'm not worried about any kind of copyright, guys. I really don't think so. I don't think they legally own the name Pingu, but it's fine, guys, honestly. But the orb and the lava lamp is right, so you couldn't see it anyway. Hope to see you again on Twitch. Oh, good, Monster Ball. Thanks for popping in, and we'll be back again on Wednesday night if you're around. So it's all good, man. Thanks for popping in the Twitch chat. Everybody's all on the YouTube chat, just in case you're wondering who I'm talking to, because that's where we have most of the people here. No, Simon, I'm not saying that. Do not ask me to say that. PM Pingu, Hale, and Ollie, and the Lamp says, One Angry Pagan, with another £2 super chat. Thank you. Oh, don't do that phone. No, don't do that phone. Phone's playing up again. Silly phone. I have to click it here. Yeah, thank you for that, One Angry Pagan, for another £2 super chat. Greatly appreciate it, buddy. Really appreciate it. That's very kind of you. Pingu can be a snowflake. Aren't we all snowflakes here? I mean, I'm sure we're all snowflakes here, aren't we? Snowflakes on the Discord as well, to be fair. So if you join the Discord community, you're a snowflake as well. Number 3, good to see you there. I'm sorry you missed the end of the show. I really appreciate you coming in. I have about 30 new followers on Twitter now. I don't mind if they help with the ratio of followers following him. Well, remind me on Twitter, and I'll see if you should try and do like a follow back Friday or something. You should try and do one of them. Ruth, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. Really appreciate it. Oopsie doopsie pocket money. Oh, Ruth, I really appreciate that. Honestly, that's really kind. You didn't have to do that, buddy. Thank you. I'm not saying that word, so Larry. I know you and Simon are trying to make you say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it on the live stream, guys. No. So yes, guys, thank you guys all so much for today. Thank you for all your comments in the chat. Thank you for your feedback on the school one. That was really interesting one we talked about today. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, please go back and check it out. And I really would like your feedback on that, on the one about schools. I might even do a follow-up video on it to get some more feedback on that, because it's one I really think is an interesting one to talk about, to try and help how we can get kids spending less time on their phones. I think that's something, a general discussion that we need to talk about. I was also curious to see how other countries would react and deal with this problem as well, but I'm not sure, but we'll see how these things go. But yeah, thank you guys all for your comments in the chat. I really appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow here on YouTube with the premiere of the World's News Round at 7 p.m. before Max goes live or 8:30 on his channel. And then on Wednesday, we will be back both here and on Twitch at 8 p.m. UK time with the Snowflakes Watch. We'll be watching and reacting to some clips and whatnot online. I imagine we'll be talking a bit about Rwanda again, given what's been happening this week as well. Then on Thursday, we have Regan's News Round. We'll be covering 7 different stories from 7 different media outlets. That's going to be on Thursday, 8 p.m. On YouTube. And then on Friday, both on YouTube here and on Twitch, we will have at 7 p.m. we will have the Snowflakes Corner live stream. We'll be covering news from outside the UK. So, guys, feel free to come and hang out with me again before Max goes live on his YouTube chat, just for references. So that's the schedule for the week. And then obviously on the weekend, we have the Speak in My Mind podcast, as well as the Good News, Good Vibe, podcast. I hope you guys enjoy the good news stories. There really is a nice collection building up there. So if you're ever having a bad day, feel free to go and hang out and check out those videos. They can really put a smile on your face. Still to this day, my favorite good news video, guys. If there's one video I recommend people checking out, it's the little girl who created the letterbox to heaven, which I think is the most coolest thing ever. For people who lost loved ones, they can write a letter and put it in this letter to heaven box. I think it's one of the best stories I've ever heard from a good news story. So if there's one story I would like you guys to ever video to check out, please check out that one in the playlist of the Good News, Good News 5 podcast. It's a really lovely story. So yeah, have a great week, everyone. Take care. Look after yourselves as always. But just before I hit the outro, guys, I have one more thing to say to you. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you're watching here on twitch.tv, please hit the follow button. It'd be greatly appreciated as well. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, then you can support me on becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well, because I do content there as well. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.